Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Really? You
Yeah.
are?
Yes. Hopefully, someone invites me to a wedding. I'm hopeful and I get invited to a wedding. So if you're listening
Yeah.
and you want me in your wedding to be present, you can just do that and make my weekend amazing.
That's so nice. Oh, you actually for a movie. Yes,
Mhm.
make popcorn available.
Indeed.
That will really make sense. Okay, so good morning. On this program, what we'll do is to take a look at from burning issues that affect not just you, not just me, but the whole country at large. We talk about these things. We get experts on the show to help analyze these issues and also help chart a way forward, which is very, very important in having a better and a greater Nigeria, which is also what we all are praying and hoping for. My name is Mariam Ogunremi, and you've heard the big man, Olongbedu. You've heard his voice.
My- and my name is Uzo Adizo. Welcome again to Panorama. You should know that Panorama is divided into two segments. We'll call the first segment issue of the day and the second segment from the pages. We'll be taking a look at something very topical this morning right here on Panorama. We are also live on Facebook, so you can connect with us right there on Facebook, Splashfm 1067, and watch us live. A comment and contribute to what we're talking about this morning on our issue of the day. The WhatsApp line is also open, so you could also connect with us via the WhatsApp line 0817 555 1067. Go again with the WhatsApp line 0817 555 1067. Let us kickstart things now on our issue of the day. As Nigeria moves forward, its 61st independent anniversary, some people think there's several things yet to be addressed while some quarters are saying that the addressed issues are not well done.
The country is plagued with several challenges in the economy, education, health, security, and other sectors. Just yesterday, figures obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria showed that the country's external reserves maintained a downward trend as it lost $905.5 million in June.
The need to consult experts on the way forward.
Joining us today on Panorama is Professor Kingsley Chiedu-Mogalu, is a Nigerian political economist, presidential aspirant 2023, lawyer, author, Ife Kaigo of Unewi Kingdom, please. I'm so sorry for that. Former United Nations official and politician. He served as deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, appointed by President Umar Musa Yar'Adua from 2009 to 2014. He subsequently taught at Tufts University as professor of practice in international business and public policy at the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy from 2015 to 2017. It was the presidential candidate of the Young Progressives Party, YPP, in the country's general election in February 2019.
Good morning to you, Prof. And thanks again for joining us on Panorama on Splash on the 6.7 FM. Can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Okay, well, let's get into it now, Prof. This administration, we'll start off this way. This administration, talking about the President Muhammadu Buhari administration, buttressed a lot on economic diversification during its campaign, and they're still talking about it now. In your own opinion, well, as a political economist, can we say they've scored a pass mark in this? Also, what are the things the Nigerian government is not getting right when it comes to the diversification of the economy? Let's start off that way, sir.
Well, thank you. First of all, I must tell you that it is very difficult for a resource-dependent country like Nigeria, any country that depends on natural resources or even just agricultural products to diversify its economy. It's a task that takes years, sometimes decades. So, we have had every government in Nigeria in recent years saying that they will diversify the Nigerian economy, but it has not happened yet. certainly not with this government and not with the ones before it. So let's just be very clear that the economy of Nigeria has not been diversified because we still rely on crude oil income for about 90% of our foreign exchange and about 70% of the total revenues of the government. So that is not a diversified economy at all.
Okay. Now, if we are talking about the issue of diversification of the economy, we know that when it comes to that, people are talking about agriculture. And if you look at this present administration, they've talked about the fact that they've helped with Anchor Borrower Scheme and also some other scheme in order to promote agriculture. Can we say they've actually tried also in doing this particular one?
Well, we define economic diversification to you and to our listeners. It's important that we all understand what these things actually mean. When we talk about a diversified economy, we mean an economy that is, has different areas of value-added production that is exported into international trade. That's what we mean by economic diversification. It means a sophisticated economy where you have things being manufactured with value added and exported. So when you move away, when you shift, the definition of a diversified economy, is structural transformation. That means that agriculture becomes less and less important in that economy as a source of revenue. If you look at Japan, if you look at the United States, if you look at Germany, Switzerland, Korea, you will not see that these countries depend on agriculture. So the focus on agriculture, while it is understandable at this time, what we should be doing is to focus on bringing value addition to agriculture. So we can start with the manufacture of related products that we can export. So the Anchor Borrowers Program, yes, it's an attempt to give credit or access to finance for farmers, and it's okay, provided that we have to see an audit as to its impact. What we do in Nigeria is that we announce programs, but the people are not shown precisely what impact these things are making. Many people will come and take these loans because it's government money, awoof money, as they say, and then that's it. So we have to see the impact, proven, and the people need to demand these things. It's not enough for people to come out on television just to make announcements of, oh, we've done this, we've done that. So agriculture is now about over 30% of Nigeria's GDP. And it employs more than half of those who are employed in Nigeria today. So it's a very important sector in Nigeria. But the very definition of economic transformation is that it should become less and less the mainstay of the economy.
Okay. Great. Now let's talk about the newly.
We need a manufacturing economy. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prof. Now let's talk about the PIB bill that just got passed by the Senate. Talking about the petroleum industry bill that got passed yesterday by the Senate. Well, people are asking, the questions that a lot of people are asking is, can this mean that we are going to have less corruption in the oil and gas sector with this bill being passed by the Senate? Hello?
Well, the petroleum industry bill, passing it is a good thing. I think it will help to improve the governance of the petroleum industry in Nigeria if its provisions are strictly followed, especially the establishment and active work of a regulatory commission to supervise the oil industry. Just like the central bank supervises the financial industry. And I think it's obvious what would happen if you didn't have a central bank supervising the banks. So the oil industry does need that type of strong, legislatively backed regulator. Then the provision for the contributions, compulsory contributions of oil companies to a host community.
Yes.
I think is also very welcome, just as the provision for environmental management trust fund as well. So it does improve governance. It will improve governance in the oil industry if the industry is effectively related. We will have to see now how the bill is put into practice. But I don't think it addresses the fundamentals of what the vision that someone like myself has, if I were to be president of Nigeria. I believe the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Nigeria, should be privatized. At least half and half public, half private, 51 to 49. Whether it's government owning 51 and private investors owning 49, or the other way around. Because I think it would help to make the corporation far more commercially, inclined and far more commercially successful. I think, for too many decades, the government and many people have seen the NNPC as simply a piggy bank for the government, and it's a bit opaque. Many people don't know, what exactly goes on there. And this is what yields the country's revenues, mostly. So I think, we need to move towards privatization. That's what I think, But I think the petroleum industry bill is a good development, certainly. It's a shame that it took more than 12 years to pass it.
Yeah,
that tells you vested interests that were at work.
Okay. Well, let's talk about something else now, and let's focus on unemployment. We said this at the introduction of the program that in the fourth quarter of 2020, the unemployment rate rose to 33.30%. Now, my question is this. Now, experts have linked the high unemployment rate in the country to insecurity. What do you think the federal and state governments are not doing right to stem the tide of unemployment in Nigeria?
Well, you see, governments do not create jobs. Governments create an environment where the private sector creates jobs. So yes, insecurity is a problem, but it's not the only problem. And even before we had this very high level of insecurity, we already had problems with the employment situation. Young people in Nigeria who graduate from schools, universities, polytechnics, and have no jobs, it's because the economy is not structurally absorbing them. You see what I'm saying? So the ways to create jobs are to create a situation where there's a lot of manufacturing, and again, economic diversification will help to absorb the labor market, no doubt about it. Giving young people skills that they can use to set up their own hustle, if you see what I'm saying. People should have their own hustle. If you're just looking to be employed in a company, the economy at this time in Nigeria can no longer carry that type of inflow into the job market from universities. So young people need to be given the skills. They need to be given the financial support to be able to set up their own businesses. This should come in a commercially viable way, or the government can also invest in this. There are attempts in this direction, but the scale is not yet satisfactory. It's not yet enough to make an impact.
Okay. Moving on away from unemployment, let's talk about the manifesto you put out in 2019, talking about corruption. So my question is this. The manifesto you put out in 2019, or the strategy you put out in 2019 when you contested for the presidential seats, do you think that strategy can still work right now? I mean, 2019 to 2021, about how many years now? 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. Cool. 2 years. Now, do you think that strategy can still work right now, knowing that the corruption index has increased?
Yes, it will still work. I mean, corruption is bleeding Nigeria dry. And that continues to be the case, despite the fact that we are promised that if this government came in, corruption would be less. But we've seen that corruption has become even more in Nigeria today. It's a very big problem in our country. And the reason it continues to be a very big problem is that we're not doing enough about it. The way to fight corruption is to create systemic transparency in everything that the government is doing. Open governance, that's the way to go. Processes of awarding contracts to be transparent. The prices of the components of any contract need to match the market price and should not exceed it by 30%, my own vision. So we have to also have project management of projects that the government is involved in from the public sector. We should project manage any government so that those projects are not awarded more than once. If you don't perform, if you have a government contract and you don't perform, there has to be an accountability mechanism. Now, broadly, also, we need impartial accountability in the fight against corruption. There should be no sacred cows, if you see what I'm saying. And also, it's important that the leadership of the country should lead by example. And I think it's very important that we begin a systemic approach where ethics is taught in primary and secondary schools so that young Nigerians grow up with certain values and value systems. This also helps to check corruption. Corruption is everywhere in the world, but the problem we have in Nigeria is that it is at the center. But in more developed countries, you can only find it in the peripheries, so in the dark corners. But here, it's in the living room, it's in the parlor.
Okay. Let's move away from corruption. Now we're trying to talk to this, and rather than it working for us, it is not working. I mean, some would say that we're not even practicing true democracy in Nigeria. So what are the challenges of our democracy, and how do you think we can overcome these challenges?
I'm one of those people who believe that we are not practicing true democracy because I have personal experience of it. I have become involved in the political space. I have run for office, and I know that there are serious problems, whether you start with the question of the people themselves and whether they are involved, whether they are informed, whether they are empowered. These are three things. Are the people involved? Look at the voter turnout in 2019. Over 80 million people are registered to vote. Only 29 million people voted. That tells you that the people themselves are not involved. Do their votes count? There's a lot of rigging that goes on in Nigerian elections. Are they empowered? Nigerian citizens, in many instances, are not an informed electorate. It's like they have been cowed by the political class and now worship the politicians who should be accountable to them. The people should be the master and the politicians their servants. But in Nigeria, it's the other way around. The people serve the politicians. Every 4 years, the politicians come and distribute money and buy elections. And then you're surprised that they cannot perform. So the problem of democracy in Nigeria is very systemic. I think, for example, that the amendment to the Electoral Act that some of us are pushing for, if it is passed as soon as possible, as we are demanding, that it will help a lot to improve the practice of elections, which will also improve the quality of Nigeria's democracy. But I believe that voter education is very, very important and is not happening enough. INEC needs to do a lot more in this area to educate voters. Now they've started the continuous voter registration exercise, and I'm very pleased about it, and I commend INEC for doing that. And I think it's going to help to improve the engagement of Nigerians in the democratic system. So I would urge as many Nigerians, especially young people who make up 65, to go out and register to vote. The future belongs to you, and you should shape that future. You shouldn't allow anybody else to shape it for you. If people are complaining about unemployment, people are complaining that the economy is not diversified, people are complaining about corruption, it's all about the quality of leadership you have and you elect. So there's no way to solve those problems until you put into office the kinds of people who have the capacity and the vision to solve those problems as political leaders. And that's up to you as the citizens of Nigeria.
All right, so let me take you up on the issue of electoral reform now. I'm sure you mentioned the fact that the amended bill that we are waiting on it to be passed, and once it has been assented to by the president, then we'll be able to move forward from there. But now let's talk about you mentioned ethics earlier being being taught in schools and all. Let's talk about ethics now. Something happened during the course of the week. That was when the People's Democratic Party protested the nomination of Loretta Onochie as INEC, commissioner. What's your take on this issue?
Yeah.
Do you think with something like that, we will be able to achieve, the kind of fairness that we want in our election? Yes.
Obviously not. There is no bigger indicator that Nigeria is not a true democracy than the fact that a sitting government can nominate a card-carrying member of the party who has been a partisan advocate of the presidency of a political, which comes from a political party, to sit in an independent electoral commission as a commissioner. Of course, you would never get fairness from such a person. So it tells you that, one aspect of democracy that I did not talk about is the independence of INEC and the independence of institutions more broadly. Any real democracy should have independent institutions, starting with those who are counting your votes and deciding who gets elected or not. So I think the nomination of this lady by the president is illegal, first of all, because it breached several aspects of the Constitution from what we have seen, from lawsuits filed by, and it also tells you, it questions the independence of the National Assembly. For the National Assembly to consider such an unconstitutional nomination. It never went to the National Council of State. Elections, INEC commissioners are supposed to be submitted to the Council of State before being nominated to the Senate. This did not happen, and so many other provisions. She's an active partisan in a foreign political party. She has dual nationality. There are all kinds of issues that come up in this thing, and it's a test for whether or not we have institutions that are worthy of their name. The National Assembly should please tell Nigerians that it's an independent lawmaking group and reject this nomination. Stand it down, because this is an affront on democracy. No question about it.
Okay.
Slap
yes.
of democracy.
This is still Panorama on your integrity station, Splash 106.7 FM. If you just tuned in, we're having a conversation with the former Deputy Governor of Central Bank of Nigeria, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, and also that Nigeria cannot afford another flawed election. Why is that so?
Yes, because, right now, many citizens do not have confidence in the democratic process, and this is why you have very low voter turnout. Many people who ordinarily would have been interested will tell you that it's not worth their time. So we cannot afford another flawed election after 2019, which many election observers judged to be very low in quality, at least compared to 2015. So yes, that's the point I'm trying to make. We cannot continue to be walking backwards. We should be making progress. We should be going forward. And I believe that, passing the amended Electoral Act, is going to help Nigerians to move closer to a real democracy. It won't make it perfect, but it will be a huge improvement if there's an electronic transmission of votes from votes where people will watch them to INEC's databases. So everybody has it right from the polling booth. Everybody will see what happened, and it cannot be tampered with between there and INEC offices. That's our hope. It's a very important part of that bill, and there's so many other areas that hopefully that bill or that act will improve. So that's why I say we cannot afford another flawed election. If we have another type of election in 2023 that was like what we had in 2019, I fear that there will be a lot of trouble in this country.
Okay, so real quick, let's talk about restructuring. Quite a number of people are clamoring for restructuring. A lot of, zones in Nigeria have been calling for it, and they feel that with that, we will be able to, achieve a greater and a better Nigeria. What's your take on this, Professor Kingsley?
Well, I am one of the many millions of Nigerians. I am one of the majority of Nigerians who support the constitutional restructuring of the Nigerian state. And what do we mean by that precisely? We mean making Nigeria a truly federal constitution, where the subnational governments, that is state or regional level, have a much larger degree of autonomy over their affairs, especially fiscal affairs, that whatever revenues they get, whatever revenues come from natural resources on their soil should belong to those states or those regions. And then they can pay a portion of it to the federal government. The kind of arrangement we had in the 1960s before the military came in. The 1963 Constitution was a truly federal constitution. And that's what we need to go back to. Right now, the federal government owns all natural resources. And then the revenues that come in, they distribute to states and local governments. So that's not federalism. That is just unitary. That's a unitary approach to fiscal management, and that's wrong. So resource control is what it's called popularly. There's no restructuring of Nigeria without resource control. The police also need to be more local. The states should have control over the police. There can be a federal layer of police, but states should have some security autonomy to be able to maintain law and order in their own jurisdictions. So these are the kinds of things that Nigerians are calling for. Nigeria has no future without constitutional restructuring. The central government is too powerful, and many people feel it is suffocating the rest of the country by preventing them from fulfilling their full potential. And that's what needs to change.
Okay. Oh, let's talk about your agenda for Nigeria. You themed it swag, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Security. Sorry?
I said I'm the man with swag.
Yeah, the man with swag. you call it security for Nigerians and Nigerians' territory, war against poverty, skills, jobs, innovation, access to capital, accelerated education and healthcare reform, good governance, effective, transparent, inclusive, and accountable. Well, let's start off with the security for Nigerians and Nigerian territory. Now, some would say that maybe, just maybe, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has failed in securing the lives and properties of people. So, what do you think he's getting wrong, and what do you think?
It's not a question. It's not a question of maybe. It's obvious. There's no need to dress it up. I mean, the security of Nigerians and their lives and property is obviously, in a horrible situation. That's clear.
So what has it got wrong, and what do you think, well, you can do right?
Well, first of all, let's start with the problem of the terrorist headsmen who, rape, kill, maim, take over people's farmlands across the country. The government has not shown any real political will to deal with this problem. Look at the bandits in the north. Look at Boko Haram, still, strong. Look at some of the situations that are now in the south and the southeast. So I think, the government, first of all, must show political will to be able to secure Nigeria, its territory, and its people. And if it appears that corruption or divided loyalties are affecting the fight against terrorism or the fight against, insecurity broadly, then you have a fundamental problem. Who will heal the doctor? That is the problem that we have in Nigeria today. So I think the most important problem we face is that there are questions about the political will of the government to truly deal with terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria. Because some people who are perpetrating that insecurity, they operate with impunity and nothing happens to them. We see that all the time. So this is it. That's the main problem. Second issue is the professionalization of the national security architecture. You see that the national security architecture is skewed in a certain direction. Over 95% or 99% of the leadership of national security agencies come from a part of the country from one religion. So you wonder whether this whole thing is to secure the people of Nigeria or is to secure a particular government or regime in power. So these are some of the issues that are plaguing Nigeria's security. So a different type of leadership is needed to secure Nigeria, because we need a leadership, and that's what I said. I will provide I will unify Nigeria. I will make Nigeria more united because I have a vision for how to make people live together in harmony. And I will be able to secure the lives of Nigerians if I were president of Nigeria. There's no question in my mind about that because I have no double loyalties. I'm loyal to my country. And as president, I would swear an oath, to follow the Constitution. And the most important aspect of that Constitution is to secure the security, to ensure the security and welfare of Nigerians. So it's a leadership issue. That's my point.
Okay, sir, let's, from your swag, you talked about war against poverty, and I want us to talk about poverty and education in Nigeria. If you take a look at President Muhammadu Buhari's agenda and also some other things that his administration have been doing, they would say that, they've been doing all they can to alleviate poverty. Talk about cash transfer program. I'm sure you've heard about that, and you know about some of the things that the federal government said they've been doing in order to alleviate poverty through that. Now, education and poverty, what is the link? How can we increase the level of education in Nigeria and also fight to the teeth?
Well, that's why if you look at my SWAG agenda, war against poverty, accelerated education and healthcare reform, and good governance, SWAG. If you look at that agenda, you will see the importance that I give to education. Education, if I were president of Nigeria, will receive priority attention. There's no way that it would have anything less than 15% of Nigeria's budget. Education and healthcare, between them, those two, at least 25 to 30% of Nigeria's budget to begin with. But if you look at education today in Nigeria, it's about 5% of Nigeria's budget. It tells you that the government attaches a very low priority to it. But without dealing with the education system, you cannot fight poverty. Poverty starts from questions of, lack of knowledge, lack of skills, lack of jobs. And you begin to fight that from the educational system. Retooling the curriculum to equip young people to be more versatile in the marketplace, with vocational kinds of skills, technological skills, entrepreneurship skills, and then maybe supporting them with capital and so on to create new enterprises when they come out of schools. That's how you fight poverty. Education matters because in certain parts of the country, the level of education is still relatively low. In fact, Nigeria as a whole, our literacy rate is 62%. That's very low for a country like Nigeria. Our literacy rate should be over 90%, but it's not. So when people do not have these kinds of basic education, especially women, look at the number of children outside of school age who are out of school, about 13 million people. That's more than the population of 2 times the population of Switzerland. You see? So when you have this type of population roaming the streets, not educated, how do you think they can make informed decisions? So you are creating intergenerational poverty when you allow this type of situation to exist. That's why we need to invest a lot in education. It is the key to breaking the backbone of poverty in Nigeria. No question in my mind about it. Because educated people make more informed decisions. They will not have children they cannot take care of. They will not support this Almajiri phenomenon of sending children to beg in the streets, because they're educated. They can understand that this is creating a recruitment pool for terrorists like Boko Haram. And they will not bring those children into the world. These are the benefits of education. And we are where we are today because we have not paid enough attention to it.
Okay. Well, part of your agenda, the SWAG agenda, is also improving the healthcare sector. You call it
Yes.
healthcare reform. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I mean,
Absolutely.
so how can we improve Nigeria's healthcare system? Because some are saying, well, the healthcare system it's not in the place it should be. You also talk about the fact that medical doctors always embark on strike and week in week out, some say. So how can we now improve the healthcare system in Nigeria?
Yes, I think we should first of all create a more enabling environment for our medical doctors and health professionals to be able to stay in Nigeria rather than the brain drain we're seeing today where all the doctors are leaving. And so that's number one. We need to invest a lot more in equipment and in remuneration for doctors and nurses. We need to invest, for example, in world-class hospitals, each one in one each, at least, in every of the 6 geopolitical zones. And then we need to make sure that more and more Nigerians have access to health insurance and pay for their medical bills. About 70% of medical bills, in Nigeria are paid out of pocket. That's not the way it should be in a health system that is working properly. Because the health of every society, of every population is fundamental. So the National Health Insurance Scheme, we have to look into it very carefully to see why it is not functioning the way it should. The woman in the village with a child on her back going to a maternity care clinic, do you think she knows about the National Health Insurance Scheme or that it is affecting her life? It is not. She's too poor. Many of them will have medical care in local hospitals they cannot pay. So this is a fundamental need that needs to be addressed. Again, resources that are properly targeted are very important. The health sector in Nigeria gets very little funding. So between health and education, which should get the highest funding in the budget, actually are among those with the lowest funding. So it's a wrong priority because you cannot have development when human development is missing. Human development is basic quality of life, healthcare, education, potable water, longevity, life expectancy. These are the things that we must first focus on, not just talking about GDP growth, the GDP is growing by this or that. That is nonsense. The health of our people, the education of our young people, that's what we should first of all focus on.
Okay. Well, part of your agenda also is that government needs to be accountable. And recently you said that security votes need to be scrapped because it is not part of accountable governance. How do you mean?
Yes, of course. We know that huge amounts of money go into these security votes. We don't know what they're used for. Insecurity is rising. So, I don't know, it's a bit of a misnomer to have this name of security vote. So we should not have, it's become a black hole that is, a football field of corruption. We know that. Everybody knows that. And I think it should be scrapped. If there are aspects of the budget that should be a bit black, for example, the budgeting for intelligence agencies and intelligence operations, in no country is that a public matter. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So that's a special case and it's different. But just to have a so-called security vote for politicians, governors and all that, it's just not accountable governance, I think.
Okay. We want to open up the phone line so that Ogun State can speak to you and probably even throw some questions at you if you don't mind.
Sure.
Oh, okay. Now, the phone lines officially are open. So if you want to call in and speak to Professor Kingsley Moghalu, you're free to do that right now. You could also drop a comment on Facebook. A Splashfm. Could you go on, please, sir?
Yes, I said my name is Moghalu. It's not Moghalu.
Okay.
G is actually silent.
Okay. Moghalu. Okay. Thanks for the correction.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
That's close enough.
Yes. Okay. 0704 400 1067. 0704 400 1067 or 0817 555 1067.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Afolabi is my name. I'm calling from Abeokuta.
Afolabi, welcome to the program. Let's have your take.
Yes. Prof, I want to thank you for this education. I want to thank you for coming out boldly to serve the nation. Because I want to agree with every other Nigeria that we have not gotten any credible person to occupy that Aso Rock. And that has been the greatest problem we are facing in this country. We are actually blessed with natural and human resources. But the leadership has always been the problem. Now, I want to ask you, sir. We can see the kind of democracy we practice in Nigeria. I want to believe particularly that it's very expensive and not sustainable. I want to know your take on this. And if, by the grace of God, you eventually become the president of this country, I want to know what you will do about that. Then, I also want to look at one other aspect. The oil is now transitioning from the current energy to another. So there is a kind of energy transition. Nigeria is still very busy on fighting, making laws on petroleum, the petroleum sector. If you eventually become the president of this country, what are you going to do about this? Because we all just know that there's climate change, global warming as a result of importance. The world is changing.
Okay, thank you very much for calling.
Thank you, Afolabi, for that. Okay, Professor, would you like to address that now?
Yes, let me just very quickly say, it was a bit garbled, but I understood him to be talking about the cost of elections and things like that, finance in politics and all that. And one of the things I think we need to do is for the government or INEC to be able to finance political parties to a much larger degree.
Well,
right now, the political parties do not get...
Well, he talked about the fact that our democracy is expensive. That's what he talked about. He said the democracy we practice in Nigeria is quite expensive. That how is it sustainable? That if you take a look at it, it's not sustainable. So he's saying that if you are the president, what are the things that you would do to address this? It is not.
Yes, it's not sustainable. I will be making my as president through executive bills submitted to the National Assembly to make certain changes, either as part of constitutional reform or in a different context, or even ways to reform INEC and the electoral system. I think the government should finance political parties a lot more, because that's not happening is one of the reasons you have so much corruption in Nigerian politics, and why politics is monetized by people who have money, and then it becomes a closed door to people who are not wealthy. That should not be the case. Citizens and the government should be financing political parties and elections, not politicians themselves.
Okay.
I think we need to reduce these forms, the fees for these forms that political parties give out. They're too expensive. Looking at the question of energy that we talked about, I will be going green heavily, because I believe a lot in renewable energy. Nigeria has huge potential here. We can produce over 400,000 megawatts of electricity from photovoltaic energy, and we're not there yet. So we need to make a lot more investments in renewable energy and stop this focus on petroleum and gas and all that. Because renewable energy is far more, and that's why I said we should privatize the NNPC. We should move the oil business to become much more of a private sector thing, and revenues go to the states or the regions where you have oil and natural gas, and then they contribute to the federal government. This is a far more efficient way to organize Nigeria's economy. And let us create incentives for investments by the private sector in renewable energy, which can give us light and electricity, quite efficiently. I mean, there will always be need for hydroelectricity and those kinds of things for industrial areas. I would prioritize industrial areas like Lagos, like Kano, like Port Harcourt, like Nnewi, Aba, in the whole question of electricity infrastructure. Because if the cost of production comes down, the price of goods coming out of those factories will be far less.
Okay.
And electricity is 40% of production costs in Nigeria today.
Okay, let's see how this goes. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is David calling from Abeokuta.
David, you have the floor. Go on, please.
Let me go straight to the point. I want to ask him a question. Me as a Nigerian, me as an Igbo person, I'm sorry to say this, I'm tired of Nigeria. I don't want to be a Nigerian anymore. So the question I want to ask him is that how will he be able to convince me that being a Nigerian will be better than going about, better than going our separate way? So how will he be able to convince me? Because I can't be in a country where I am getting nothing. The country is collecting from me and I'm getting nothing in return. So how will he be able to convince me to be able to stay in Nigeria? Thank you, guys.
All right. I'm sure you heard that question, Professor.
Yes.
I think I was talking about inclusivity. Right.
Yeah, it's a very important question, and I'm glad he raised it. You know, millions of Nigerians today do not even believe, essentially, in the legitimacy of the Nigerian state. And it's really a bad situation when many citizens have lost faith in the country. But if I were to be president, I will restore your faith, because I will bring the kind of leadership where everybody in Nigeria is treated equally. Nobody will be more important than anybody else. No ethnic group will be more important than any other. No religion will be more important than any other. Justice is very important to establish peace in this country and give people confidence that being a Nigerian is a good thing, not a bad thing. So I will lead in a way that unifies. I will not discriminate. I will not be nepotistic in favor of one ethnic group and against others. These are the things that make people like you lose confidence. As president of Nigeria, I know I will know how to manage Nigeria's diversity. Because it is something I have done for most of my life. I was in the United Nations for nearly 20 years. That's a place I had a working environment of colleagues from 200 countries. So managing diversity is second nature to me. In Nigeria, I worked in the central bank where you have, people again from different parts of the country. So fairness, treating people fairly and transparently, showing that you have no hidden agenda, is a very important approach to leadership that I will bring to the Nigerian presidency, which is lacking right now.
Okay, we have to say thank you so much to you, Professor Kingsley Moghalu, for coming on Panorama this wonderful morning. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
And we hope that someday you come around to our Abeokuta.
Yes, live and direct.
Yes, live and direct. And we treat you with some of our delicacies we have in Abeokuta. Quite delicious, I must say.
Yes, absolutely. I do come to.
Okay. Oh, lost him there for a bit.
From time to time. I look forward to seeing you next time there.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Okay, we've been speaking with Professor Kingsley Moghalu. He's a Nigerian political economist, and you've heard him answer some questions concerning the state of the nation. Let's go for a quick break. When we come back, we'll move into the second segment and also take your comments on the program this morning. Stay tuned.
Splash FM 106.7.
ohun ọdún lẹ́ńdá fọ́dún aṣọ ìgbàlá ń dá fún ìgbà Ajikode Homes and Property Nigeria Limited kí wa kú ìpalẹ̀mọ́ ọdún iléyá tó ń bọ̀ lọ́nà yìí pé a kú ìpalẹ̀mọ́ o lọ́tún àǹfààní iléyá promo wọn ilẹ̀ mawukọ Blessed Estate ìrìn ìṣẹ́jú 5 àti Excellent Estate Randa ìrìn ìṣẹ́jú 10 bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti rí àwọn ilẹ̀ méjèèjì yìí ẹ láǹfààní sáwọn oríṣiríṣi nǹkan lé bíi blender washing machine standing fan plasma TV fridge pẹ̀lú àwọn ohun ilé mìíràn tẹ́ máa gbé lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ látàrí 100,000 naira tẹ́sán ṣódẹ́kẹ́ titun àti ilẹ̀ òṣèlẹ̀ tó ti di wámú tirẹ̀ báyìí 250,000 lẹ́sàn fún àwọn ilẹ̀ méjèèjì bẹ́ẹ̀ bá ti rà èyíkéyìí lára àwọn ilẹ̀ méjèèjì ẹ láǹfààní láti máa gba àpò rẹsì kan àti òróró 5 litre ó yá ẹ jẹ́ ká lọ fún ọdún fọ́dún ẹ máa bọ̀ ní number 3 Adata Road Ìsàlẹ̀ Akẹ́ Abẹ́òkúta lẹ́gbẹ̀ta house ibẹ̀ gangan náà fi kalẹ̀ sí 09035750706 09035750706 ìparí oṣù keje làǹfààní yóò wà sópin Ajikode TV kòkó síbẹ̀ ọyìn máa dùn ìrédé.
Tí bá lówó má ṣe fàájì ara mi o. Èmi ò ní ṣe bí bàbá olówó lẹ́yìn kìràkìtà tààrọ̀ ó tún délé kò sí ná. Bàbá tán jẹnẹrétọ̀ ìyẹn ń ṣe gbogbo gbagba o. Ìgbà tó máa ń dágó 12 òru onílé ọ̀tún onílé òsì wọ́n wá ń pariwo bàbá olówó ẹ̀ sì jẹ́ ká sùn ṣẹ́yìn nìkan lẹ máa kọ́kọ́ lówó. Ṣẹ́ẹ̀rí polówó fowó ráyọnu fowó ráyọnu Mr. Simple èmi ti rí solution June 6 energies ni.
Iná ìjọba lọ kò lọ, jẹnẹrétọ̀ wà kò sí kò kàn yín pínpín. Tẹ́ ẹ bá ti wá bá wa sọ àsọyépọ̀ ní June 6 Energies Nigeria Limited tá a sì bá yín ṣe alternative solar inverter power supply tó ń lo agbára oòrùn. Kẹ́ ẹ wá máa lo iná lọ yàlà yòlò. June 6 Energies Nigeria Limited and Sarudin House, Quarry Road, Pepsi, Abeokuta. Telephone 0812-926-7722.
èrò bá mi kà lọ́rọ̀ ṣọ́nsángàdì ilé àpòmọ̀ làtúgbèdè rọ́ṣkàdì phase 1 lọ́bàdà 2.5 million ní ìwà ìgbẹ́ràn àgbo ẹran òkú fèrèsì pẹ̀lú òróró dídọ̀ bàtàmẹ́ta tí sọ́bẹ̀ ọ̀fẹ́ ni. Rọ́ṣkàdì phase 2 600,000 ní ra 5 plus o wà gba 1 plot ọ̀fẹ́ sí. First floor Emmanuel Plaza láwà o ó ní kòkòrò máa ń ṣẹ̀kẹ̀ lábẹ́ òkúta.
ẹ pè wọ́n sórí 08106127942 08106127942.
Jẹ́sí fújì ní ẹ̀bà fẹ́ràn lẹ̀ rọ́ṣọ̀ ń ta gàdí yẹn lọ.
ìparí oṣù keje làǹfààní yìí wà sókè.
ẹ tẹ́tí sí ìsọfúnni yìí ǹjẹ́ o mọ̀ pé ó ṣeé ṣe fún wọn náà láti máa gba ó kéré tán 80,000 naira tàbí jù bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìpín rẹ níparí oṣù kọ̀ọ̀kan bó o bá pinnu láti pẹ̀lú ṣiṣẹ́ pẹ̀lú iléeṣẹ́ tó ń fẹ́ ìlọsíwájú àti ìrọ̀rùn fún ọ yìí iléeṣẹ́ IAS Unique Homes and Properties 1st January Agro Investment Limited June 6 Energies Nigeria Limited àti ABL Merchandise Nigeria Limited kí ìgbésí ayé rẹ lè yí padà sí rere ẹ wá gbọ́ o ọjọ́ Monday tó ń bọ̀ yìí ní ìgbanisíṣẹ́ yìí máa wáyé July ọjọ́ 5 oṣù kejì ọdún yìí a kì í rẹ́fọ̀n ta lẹ́ẹ̀méje tètè sọ fẹ́ni tó súnmọ́ tó múra tán láti ṣiṣẹ́ pé ilé iṣẹ́ wọ̀nyí fẹ́ gbà yàn síṣẹ́ láti mọ ìgbésẹ̀ tó kàn ìwọ náà pe ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 08067978712
ìgbàláṣọ ìgbàlẹ̀wò ìgbàkànrè táwọn baba ńlá wa falẹ̀ mọ́ iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ gan-an àwọn àgbẹ̀ abisuyọ lóko bọ̀kùà tí wọ́n sì ń jèrè rẹpẹtẹ oṣùyọ bí òṣùmàrè pẹ̀lú àǹfààní aláìlẹ́gbẹ́ ABR Agro Limited ìgbọ̀ tó fáwọn àgbẹ̀ lórí àwọn ilẹ̀ oko wọn ní ilẹ̀ ní òṣìẹ̀lẹ̀ àti alábàtà 40,000 naira per plot bẹ́ẹ̀ sì ni orílẹ̀ ìlúgùn pẹ̀lú àpèsè ọbàjá ìdíẹ̀mẹ́ 30,000 naira per plot èyíkéyìí ilẹ̀ àgbẹ̀tẹ̀ bára lọ́dọ̀ wọn ẹ ó jèrè tó pọ̀ rẹpẹtẹ torí pé àwọn kan ti wà láti ra èrè oko yín àti láti bá yín tà á sí òkè òkun bẹ́ẹ̀ sì làwọn tí ó máa fi dáko tẹ́ ẹ máa gbọ́ ọ̀pọ̀ owó lórí ẹ̀ náà wà níkàlẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àjọsọ àti ìlànà nọ́mbà 39 NTA Road Ọ̀gbẹ̀ Abeokuta 08033706236 08033706236 ogúnjọ́ oṣù keje làǹfààní yóò mọ̀ pẹ̀lú ABR Agro Limited ìgbọ̀túndé.
Splash FM 106.7.
Panorama on your integrity station, Splash 106.7. A minute past 9 in the morning, the second day in the month of July 2021. Before we move over to the second segment of Panorama, we want to take your comments on the issue of the day on socials. We have some on Facebook as well as on WhatsApp. Then after we're done with that, we'll move over to from the pages. So we'll take a look at the various headlines from the newspapers and give you some understanding on those headlines. So we'll start off with WhatsApp.
Okay, let's start with WhatsApp this wonderful morning. And on WhatsApp, this one from Samson U. Joseph has said, beautiful morning, my people. Be honest, you guys enjoyed your conversation with Professor Kingsley, and you wonder why can't we have this kind of brain at the control of affairs? If this conversation was with our current president, his answers would be out of points and not relevant to the questions. We deceive ourselves so much in this country. Let me stop here, Jerry. It is well low. That's from Samson U. Joseph. And from there, this one is saying, if this nation experience another fraud election, it may collapse totally. I pray we never experience such. Reverend Zachariah Olubayota Nigbola from Wasimi. And he also said, Nigeria has never experienced insecurity like this in her history. May the living Lord help Nigeria out of this mess. And another one also from Olajuel from Itao. She said, good morning, Splash FM, and to our guest, Professor Mohalu. I want to say that you are indeed a man of good vision who knows what to do. My question is this. Oh, dear me. Are you going to contest come 2023, and what party? This is because I like your vision and I would like to vote for you. Yes, he is 2023 presidential aspirant. Yes, that question is answered. Concerning the party, well, we'll get to know pretty soon. However, I want to believe that you will not backtrack on your vision when you get there. Olajuel from Itachi is saying that. This one also. Good morning, Splash. Good morning to Mr. Professor. Maybe later, Mr. President. How often will you tackle the corruption? I'm sure he was able to address that as well. Good morning, sir and ma. I love the intelligence of Professor Kingsley Mohalu in the house earlier, but it's easier said than done. Although you convinced me, if I were to cast my vote for you, may God help you, sir. From Pepsi Abeokuta. And okay, I thought that would be the last one, but it seems we've got another one also on WhatsApp. Good morning, Professor Kingsley. Good morning. Professor Kingsley has said many issues bordering on the nation, but the one that concerned me the more is education. There is need for people to be more informed, educated, and well-informed people take good decision. If you want to kill a nation, kill the education. Another thing is restructuring and security. We need justice and equity. Kehinde Gabriel from Abeokuta. Thank you so much, Kehinde Gabriel, for that. And that's all I've got on WhatsApp this morning.
Okay, let's check out Facebook now. This one is from Sanitarian Akinola Oluwarotimi. There is no democracy in Nigeria because there's no democracy in Nigeria. I don't see the need why some security agencies will warrant an arrest nor the warrant to search. This is disheartening. May God heal this nation. Okay, this is from Sanitarian Akinola. Your message is really not clear. I think maybe you need to rephrase and send it again on WhatsApp. Or maybe you could drop it on Facebook. I think that's just about it on Facebook. We have the same message The same message Zachariah dropped on Facebook.
Yes. Same on
WhatsApp. So
yes.
I think we don't have to take that. So let's move over now to the second segment of Panorama. We'll call it From the Pages. I have a Punch newspaper.
Real quick before we do that, another one just sneaked in on WhatsApp. Good morning, I'm Tunde from Abeokuta. It's beautiful bringing this kind of man. Continue a good job and bring all others to come on board. I want to encourage Nigerians to vote with our eyes open. Thank you so much, Tunde, for that. Now, I've got Nigeria Tribune with me.
And I have the Punch newspaper. This takes a spotlight, and it's a big one here. We killed 2, arrested 13 aides in Igboho's house raid, says the DSS. 30 riders, the attackers killed 5 persons, took away corpses, steal 3 million naira. Female leader shouting orders. 7 AK-47 rifles, 3 guns, 5,000 rounds of ammunition, charms recovered. It's attack on Yoruba, the Banjo. It's injustice, federal government insensitive, says YCE. Still with the front page of the Punch newspaper. By the way, you can find this big story on page 9 of the Punch newspaper. From the front page of the Punch newspaper, debt servicing gulped 1.8 trillion naira in 5 months, says federal government. Page 17 of the Punch newspaper. Still with Punch newspaper. Also a big one. Page 18, oil experts list benefits as National Assembly breaks 12-year jinx, passes Petroleum Industry Bill. Finally, 12 years. It took 12 years.
Well, some papers are saying 13 years.
13 years. Okay. Well, all the same, it's a good one.
Yes,
so we'll be talking about that later. And by the way, you could also jump in the conversation on the headlines we'll be talking about later on through the WhatsApp line 0817-555-1067. So you could contribute to the program via the WhatsApp line. Also on Facebook, Splashfm 1067. We'll open up the phone lines later so that you can also call in and contribute to the program. Miriam?
Okay, from Nigeria Tribune this morning, DSS raids Igboho's home, kills 2, arrests 13, declares him wanted, and that's got a couple of riders under it. Gun duel in his house lasted for 1 hour, DSS explained. 7 AK-47 rifles, 3 pump-action guns, 30 fully charged AK-47 magazines, 5,000 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition retrieved from his house, paraded as exhibits in Abuja. How my house was invaded, Igboho, Afenifere, Gani Adams, Ilana Odua react to his home invasion. Police warn Igboho, others over Yoruba Nation rally in Lagos. All that, you can find them on page 2 of Nigeria Tribune. Also, there are pictures on the front page of Nigerian Tribune this morning. 8 students killed, 962 others, 8 teachers kidnapped in 7 months. That is according to NANS. Reps vote against suspension of Twitter ban. Makinde appoints Emir of Katagum, Lautek's 5th Chancellor. NAS passes PIB after 13 years. South senators kick over 3% to host communities. With the riders, it's called 3 riders. Reps recommend 5% to host communities to meet Senate for harmonization. NMPC to become a liability company in how the North won. Frontier basins to be funded with 30% profit of NMPC Limited Company in oil and gas exploration. Still with the front page of Nigerian Tribune, military arrest ISWAP terrorist in Ogun. That's on page 27. FG projects 900 billion naira for fuel subsidy in 2022 on page 6. Kanu orchestrated killing of 60 persons. FG alleges, explains how it was trailed for over 2 years. Applies same zeal used to arrest Kanu to apprehend Fulani headsmen. That is coming from Autumn. And this story is on page 5 and page 8 of Nigerian Tribune. So those are the headlines on the front page.
Okay, we have joined with us in the studio Abayomi Babalola, who's a public affairs analyst, as well as a social commentator. Good morning to you, Abayomi.
Good morning, Uzo. Good morning, Miriam.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, well, let's get into it now. 2 big stories, the PIB, first one, the second one, again, the Igboho house raid. So let's start off with that one now from the Punch newspaper. We killed 2, arrested 13 aides in Igboho's house raid, says DSS. The Department of State Services on Thursday paraded 12 of Sunday Igboho's followers, saying one order was being profiled. The DSS said a joint team of security operatives had raided Igboho's residence early on Thursday based on an intelligence report. Parading the suspects at the national headquarters of the Secret Police, a spokesman, Peter Afanaya, said the security team was engaged in a gun duel by 9 men suspected to be Igboho's guards. So your thoughts on this? We'll still delve more into it. Well, what is your reaction? The first reaction you got or you had when you saw this story?
The very first reaction I had was that it couldn't be the government, that some mischief could be in play. That was my very first reaction. I had thought that the government would not do things in such an unprofessional way, in my view. I thought that because this is a country where people fight propaganda with propaganda. The arrest of Nnamdi Kanu was just a couple of hours ago. And I was immediately that arrest of Kanu was announced. People started saying that the next target is most likely going to be Sunday Igboho. And boom, out of nowhere, this came up. And I was thinking that maybe some people are just saying, okay, let us use propaganda to whip up sentiment in support of Sunday Igboho. Let us whip up sentiment just like what's happened and paint a picture of what happened that made Nnamdi Kanu to run away in the first instance, because Nnamdi Kanu was telling us that his life was at stake. That was why he had to run. And you cannot have an operation just like the one we had yesterday morning, and you expect the suspect or the person being pursued to still wait behind. It was gory. So I was thinking that maybe some people just put up some plans, and it got to a point. I think Professor Akintoye was one of the early respondents, and he was saying that 7 people were killed. That about 7 people were killed, so many people were taken away and the likes. After some hours, we heard from Igboho himself saying that 2 people were killed. So I was saying that, okay, the drama these people are putting up, the script was not perfected. Some hours later, the Nigerian army denied ever being involved in this. And out of nowhere, the DSS came up with that press release that they were actually behind it. I was disappointed because I never expected such action. Whatsoever reason you could be having to arrest this guy, I do not think the way they did it was good enough.
Okay. Sorry to cut you short. So some people are actually of the opinion that why was he not invited the same way Gumi was invited? Why wasn't he invited, to come over to their office? So why did they have to go on to attack his home? Well, according to DSS, they said, okay, it was due to intelligence that they gathered that he and also some other people are planning to attack the Nigerian state. So what's your take on this? That why wasn't he invited?
Let's get this clear. That, yes, some people were saying that why was he not invited? But in this circumstance, the DSS might have reasons for saying they don't want to invite him. Because if they had invited him, probably the exhibits they said they were able to get from his house might have been carted away, might have been cleared up by his boys. But let's get this clear. There is difference between inviting a suspect and carrying out a sting operation. In most cases, sting operation, they do not invite their host. Let me put it that way. They do not inform him that they are coming. In fact, they rarely get court warrants, which is absurd anyway. Now, if you are going for sting operations like that, if I am correct, DSS will rank amongst the top echelon of our intelligence unit in this country. I would have expected that they must have carried out their own investigation, know when and how to capture this guy without this bloodshed, without this level of destruction, without this level of uproar. They must have been, Lai Mohammed was telling us that they've been trailing Nnamdi Kanu for over 2 years. Sunday Igboho came to the limelight, let's say, in the last 6 months. In that 6 months, what information have you been able to gather? Now they are telling us they were able to get some ammunition from his home. I don't know if they have video of the operation while it was going on. I wouldn't know. But if you do not have that, this is a country where we have heard cases where somebody will say that they are only trying to pin something on him. We can't say for sure now, you and I seated here and Nigerians on the streets out there cannot say for sure that these weapons found in his house, allegedly found in his house, were actually found in his house. If this weapons were not taken along by the DSS to his house.
Now that's a bit of a reach there. If one would make that conclusion, because how would the DSS take away or bring in?
Uzo, I told you this is a country where we fight propaganda with propaganda. I'm not saying that is what really happened,
right?
But there are possibilities.
What about also the gun duel they had with DSS? Well, I mean, let's talk about the intelligence report now. You question the raid of the DSS, but some would say maybe the raid is justified because an intelligence report given to the DSS was stipulates that there might be an imminent attack in Nigeria by Sunday Igboho. And they went to the house and discovered this amount of weapons in his place. Plus,
they even found a gun snatched from a particular security agent. So, yes.
And when the investigation was done, these guns were snatched from Nigerian customs and immigration personnel at Idioroko, beg your pardon there, Ogun State. Now, again, you can also bring forward the argument that the guns were duly registered by Sunday Igboho. So the thing is, the question again is this: wasn't the attack justified by the DSS?
See, I wouldn't know what Sunday Igboho would be doing with weapons, with that large cache of weapons in the first instance. If truly the weapons were found in his house, I wouldn't know what he would be doing with that. And I want to say this, that if you have ever come across his men, his staunch men, it's never a sin that you would like to get caught up in, because they are always so aggressive. I mean, this Sunday Igboho's boys. So the allegation that the DSS were saying that they had information that there could be an attack anytime soon in any community from these boys could be true, because the way they operate, you see them when they are talking to some people, especially if you do not align with their own line of thoughts. They tag you as an enemy and they address you anyhow. That is not in the language of the people he is saying he's fighting for. That is not Omoluabi like. So I am not holding brief for him that what he's doing is good. What I'm saying is that when somebody is doing something and you are in the position to correct what that person is doing, it is expected that your own intelligence and your own maturity will be a notch higher. With the look of things now, why will you go for an operation and blood will be shed this way? Let me tell you one of the things I was thinking immediately I saw that news. I was thinking maybe these people just slaughtered some goats and splashed the blood everywhere. But DSS confirmed to us that 2 people were killed. Mm-hmm. And with the antecedents of these boys, yeah, I do not expect them to see the DSS and just lay down their arms. Yes, there will be gunshots. In fact,
who are you faulting? Because I don't understand. You're saying blood.
Now, who am I faulting? Yes. I am faulting. In the first instance, I am faulting the government. Because
the fact that blood was shed?
Yes.
And how should they have done it better?
See, how was Nnamdi Kanu apprehended outside the shore of this country, brought into this country as a Sunday, according to the minister, and nobody got to know until Tuesday? The kind of resources, the kind of efforts put in place to apprehend Nnamdi Kanu outside this country, that could have been replicated in the case of Sunday Igboho. Right. This guy could have been picked up even on the street. This guy could have been picked up elsewhere. I'm not into security arrangements, yeah, but from the layman point, I think they could have done better.
Okay. Let's touch base on another story.
Yeah, PIB, yes,
The big one.
Yeah, it is a big one. On page 5 of the Nigerian Tribune, NAS passes PIB 13 years after. Senate slashes 5% host community fund to 3%, transforms NNPC to liability company. Okay, what's your take on this? Is it, well, the agitation now? Well, after the passing of the bill just yesterday, quite a number have been agitating the fact that Senate decided to slash, the host community fund to 3%. Well, they are saying that that is just way too small. What's your take on that?
Well, I can recollect that a couple of weeks back I was here and I said that I strongly doubt if this bill will be passed before the Senate will go on recess this July. Now, and I said that even if they make that effort to pass it, there is every likelihood that there will be a last-minute struggle by some people to thwart this effort. I think Vanguard newspaper is saying that passed after 13 years. We have been talking about this PIB for 20 years now. And by now, you would expect that every item on that bill must have been talked about, compromise must have been reached, and by now we should be enjoying the provisions of that bill. The host community, I think the major issue now is the host community saying that they want 5%.
They want more.
They want 5%, minimum of 5%. But the Senate has slashed this to 3%.
3, yes.
And I wouldn't be surprised in coming days if you see some people gather themselves and tell you that they are going to court, they want to challenge this and they want to challenge that. Let me tell you that in coming days, there is every likelihood we'll still have some other provisions of this PIB that will be challenged by some people. Either based on religion, based on ethnicity, based on the sharing formula, even from private companies, which are to drive this bill we are talking about. There's every possibility you will still have some people coming up with different things. But then, as it is today, why will the Senate slash from 5 to 3?
3.
You see, one of the things I've been saying, and I'll say this morning again, that I do not blame Mr. President for everything. In fact, as far as I am concerned, I'll put the blame more on other elected representatives that we have. The South people and the oil producing states that are saying that they want more than 5%. What are their representatives in the National Assembly doing about this? You and I cannot go to the National Assembly. Of course, if we go there, there is a way they will listen to our agitation. But the most ideal means of submitting your agitation is through your representative. Now, if these representatives cannot go to the National Assembly, cannot go to the floor of the National Assembly to present the true picture of the opinions of their people, who are they representing them?
Well, according to reports, they actually proposed 10%. But Mele Kyari, that is the director of the NNPC, he came in and he said that they can only afford 3% for host communities, and after which the Senate decided to slash it from 5% to 3%. And there has been quite a number of agitation coming from South region. Igboho, James manager, also Delta South, and also some other people have reacted to this, saying that it's actually 10% they asked for, but they were told that they would be giving 5%. Now, after the appearance of Mele Kyari before the National Assembly, they decided to slash it to 3%.
Now, it's like saying Splashfm wants to give out some gifts, and recipients are coming from outside. the management of Splashfm has decided that we are giving out 10 gifts.
Okay.
And by the time the recipients got there, some people in the management are now saying, no, it has to be 5. No, it has to be 3. No, let's go ahead with 10. It is not the people coming from outside that would decide for you. Even if Mele Kyari has come to the National Assembly and presented facts, I want to assume that he has his reasons. He has facts which he must have presented for the Senate to decide on this. Why can't the National Assembly members go back and convince their people that for so reasons we are slashing this this amount from 10% or from 5% to 3%, rather than allowing people to now? Majority of this blame will be put at the doorstep of Kyari. That was why I said somebody coming from outside will not come in here and decide for you. Yes, he must have presented good points for them that convinced them, but then has this representative gone back to convince their own people that for so reason, even if it's going to be, okay, let's take this 3% for the next 5 years. After 5 years, there will be a review and then we'll move forward. But they have not done that. And you are giving us the wrong impression that it is the NNPC MD that took that decision, that single-handedly took that decision. Meanwhile, he only went there with suggestion. He went there with the facts he has at his own disposal. Now that the Senate is convinced that presented by the GMD of NNPC is good enough for them to change their stance, why can't they tell the people, oh, people, it is our decision. Kyari has come to us and he has presented so facts. And based on that, we have decided. But with the look of things now, it's as if Kyari has come and has directed that the 5% should be taken away and they should be given 3%.
Okay, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll talk a bit more about this bill, and we'll move over to all the stories from the pages. So stay with us. This is the Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM.
Dédé oníbàárà 1st January ẹ jẹ́ ká jọ hóhó ayọ̀.
Àbájáde kí ló tún fẹ́ ṣẹlẹ̀? Ayé ń fẹ́ ti yín o.
Eléyìí tún lè kú. Ó sọ̀ǹtò mọ́tò méjì ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀. Toyota Camry, Mọ́sùlù àti Toyota Camry bíkí dájú rẹ̀ máa jẹ bẹ́ẹ̀ bá rálẹ̀ láàyò òjò òbùkún dé olíyèméjì kò lè gbẹjọ. Ṣẹ́ẹ́dílẹ́sẹ̀ IAS yìí ń talẹ̀ àti 1st January yìí ń talẹ̀ oko. Àbí àkóso kan rẹ̀ rán wà. Ìyẹ̀rẹ̀ jẹ́ kó pé bẹ́ẹ̀ ni bá rálẹ̀ ilé bá ń gbà tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì láti jẹ mọ́tò kó máa fẹ́ ní rálẹ̀ oko náà. Àrà oko tí ń gbègboro 50,000 rere oko dà. Iye 20,000 yìí bá wà lówó lẹ̀ yóò bá rà. Ìyẹ̀rẹ̀ iye tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì yẹn máa fi eléyìí kò gan tí ọ̀nà.
Bàbá Àjànàkú ìròyìn ayọ̀ lélẹ́yìí o. Ọlọ́run gbọ́ á sọ fáwọn òbí wa.
Ẹ̀wí wọn o ìparí oṣù keje July ìrànfààní ralẹ̀ gba tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì máa kásẹ̀ lílẹ̀. Rírà báyìí kó wa ralẹ̀ oko ní 1st January Agro Investment Limited. Ọjọ́ Sunday ọjọ́ kẹwàá oṣù kẹwàá ra máa yí kòtò. Àwa Lansarudin House Quarry Road Pepsi Abeokuta 081 65 64 65 35.
níbi kádìjú kálajú ọdún kérésìmesì àtọdún tuntun àwọlédè wẹ́rẹ́ ságbàsúlà sókè sódò àwa di rẹpẹtẹ kìkì nítorí pé a fẹ́ ṣọdún ayọ̀ ká ṣàjọyọ̀ ọdún kérésìmesì àtọdún tuntun pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹbí wa àtojúlùmọ̀ ọ̀pọ̀ òjò ló ti rọ̀ tilẹ̀ ti fi mú ìròyìn ayọ̀ kan wá rèé o pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ iléeṣẹ́ ABL Merchandise Nigeria Limited gbogbo ẹni tó fẹ́ ṣọdún kérésìmesì àtọdún tuntun lọ́nà tó dùn yùgbàyùgbà lórí jíjẹ àti mímu àníkílẹ̀ fẹ́ fi ṣọdún màálù ògùnfẹ̀ àgbọ̀ adìẹ tọ́kí ìrẹsẹ̀ òróró tó fi dórí ohun èlò tó ń lò náà electronics lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan tẹlifíṣàn generator home theatre àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ẹ lọ fọkàn balẹ̀ ohun tẹ́ ẹ kàn máa ṣe nìyí rí dájú pé wọn náà pẹ̀lú àwọn ọlọ́gbọ́n ènìyàn tí wọ́n fi ó kéré tán 2,500 naira 5,000 naira tàbí 10,000 naira pamọ́ lóṣooṣù fún ìmúrasílẹ̀ ọdún kérésìmesì àtọdún tuntun bí ọdún bá ti wá kú ọ̀sẹ̀ kan ìwọ náà ti láǹfààní láti wá bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní gbé àwọn tó nílọ́kàn tó wù ọ́ tó mú nílé iṣẹ́ ABL kàn sí ilé iṣẹ́ ABL Purple House Ìtàmọ́rin Junction Abeokuta pé 090 26 57 75 87
àgbájọwọ́ kíláàsì iléyà promo eléyìí kò pọ̀ kẹ̀ ó pọ̀ jọjọ àǹfààní ìdá 50% discount lórí gbogbo ilẹ̀ wọn Besiland ò ṣẹlẹ̀ 300,000 tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 150,000 lẹ́sàn high level randa 400,000 tẹ́lẹ̀ báyìí 200,000 lẹ́sàn sábò sódẹ́kẹ́ titun 500,000 ní báyìí 250,000 lẹ́sàn bẹ́ẹ̀ ti sanwó ẹ ti láǹfààní sí blọ́ọ̀kù 200 pieces àti báàgì sìmẹ́ǹtì mẹ́rin bó sì jẹ́ 1 bag of rice àti 5 litre òróró lẹ́fẹ́ òun nìkan kọ́ àgbò ńlá wà níkàlẹ̀ gbogbo ẹ̀ fún ti ìpalẹ̀mọ́ ọdún iléyà náà ni ó pọ̀ jọ kíláàsì iléyà promo la pé eléyìí pọ̀ gan-an owó ìdajì lẹ́sàn o tẹ́sí gbalẹ̀ yín lẹ́sẹ̀kẹsẹ̀ number 39 NTA Road ọgbẹ̀ Abeokuta 070-4464-8338 070-4464-8338 àgbájọ kíláàsì iléyà promo ó ń tán lọ ọjọ́ kọkàndínlógún oṣù keje láǹfààní yóò pin yàmú tirẹ̀.
Attain the knowledge you require to join the broadcasting industry. Splashfm.
bó o bá ṣetán tí o fẹ́ béèrè ọ̀nà máa rántí béèrè ọ̀nà lọ́wọ́ ẹni tó mọ̀nà kó o má bàa ṣìnà ẹ̀yin ẹ̀dá bíi olúmọ̀kẹ́ béèrè wọ̀ bí iléeṣẹ́ wo ló ń talẹ̀ tó ṣe é gbọ́kànlé mélòó ni káka mélòó ni ká sọ nípa iléeṣẹ́ IAS ṣé ti sísọ ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ tí wọ́n rò pé àwọn lè donílẹ̀ tí wọ́n donílẹ̀ lọ́nà rọrùn kò tán síbẹ̀ o níléeṣẹ́ IAS wọ́n tún fi ọ̀nà ẹ̀yáwó ìrọ̀rùn hàn oníbàárà wọn láti lè jẹ́ kí ilẹ̀ tó ra ó di kíkọ́ ní kíákíá pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ ilé ìfowópamọ́ 6 ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ẹ̀yin oníbàárà wa gbogbo níléeṣẹ́ IAS ṣé ẹ gbàgbé ọjọ́ kẹwàá oṣù kẹwàá October 10 níbi tí ogún ènìyàn àní oníbàárà ogún ti fi ogún ẹ̀bùn ńláńlá ṣèfàjẹ́ oníbàárà méjì ọ̀tọ̀ọ̀tọ̀ ló máa fọkọ̀ ayọ́kẹ́lẹ́ bọ̀gìnì méje Toyota Camry Motor àti Toyota Big Daddy ṣèfàjẹ́ bó bá ṣe pé èmi nìwọ ni ẹnìkan ò bá fọhùn bí oròkó tó dún bí eégún iléeṣẹ́ IAS ni màá yà tètè lọ ra lẹ̀mí lọ́wọ́ báyìí 20,000 naira kan ní tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì oríire kan ibo gan ló ń fẹ́ ilẹ̀ rẹ sí lówó tí ò gani lára títí kan sí iléeṣẹ́ IAS tó bá súnmọ́ jùlọ ó yá pé 090-3377-3189.
Don't dare touch that dial. It's Splash, your integrity station.
All right, welcome back. It's still Panorama on Splash 106.7 FM, and we are in the second segment. Don't forget, we are going through the front page, taking a look in the dailies. We are checking out some of the headlines, and also we have Mr. Abayomi Babalola in the studio, and together we are taking a look at all this. And before we went on the break, we were talking about the PIB.
The PIB. Mm-hmm. And of course, you know this about me, is that this bill is sequel to President Muhammadu Buhari's assent. So do you think that if the president overrides this bill, and if he doesn't assent to it, do you think that the National Assembly can, drive to override the president's disapproval to this bill?
If Mr. President refused to assent this bill, I do not see the National Assembly override the non-assent of Mr. President. I do not see this National Assembly do that, because the antecedents of this National Assembly has shown us that it is what the executive wants, that they want with them. We are not saying that the legislative arm and the executive arm of government should always be at loggerheads. Of course, if there is peace, if there is tranquility, if there is understanding, that is when peace and progress and the likes can really surface. But then, when you disagree on fundamentals, that everybody sees your ground, we won't blame them for saying no to Mr. President. But the antecedent has shown that, anyway, the Senate President has told us that whatsoever Mr. President brings forward, they will agree to it. Mm-hmm. So if they work on this PIB, after the hues and cries, after the number of years that we have gone through this, and they now submit it to President and the President refused to assent it, we'll go back to square one. It's not that the National Assembly has, that I do not see them have that I don't know, maybe that's strength to say we are going against Mr. President. Take, for instance, the issue of the immediate past service chiefs. When Nigerians were saying, yes, these people have served us, let them go. Let's change hands. It took President many months before he listened to that. At a point, we were happy that our National Assembly members started querying the continued stay in office of these service chiefs, based on the fact that everybody, and from the results we are seeing, it was as if the service chiefs were not achieving the desired goals. Eventually, when Mr. President now asked them to go, few weeks after that, he presented them to the National Assembly for ambassadorial appointments. And before you know it, they were passed okay by this same National Assembly. So the question now arose that if these people have not performed in a previous assignment, why give them another assignment? Are they the only qualified Nigerians that we have? But some people will tell you that it is because they are coming from the quarters of Mr. President. It is Mr. President that wants them there. So the National Assembly will just approve. So if this PIB gets to Mr. President's table and he refused to sign, of course, he will give some reasons, like what we have on the electoral bill, electoral reform bill. It got to a point he was saying because of time to the election and the likes, he's not assenting. So I wouldn't be surprised if he refused to sign this.
Okay. Let's open up the phone lines and let's allow you to jump on the conversation this morning on Panorama. Pick your headline and talk to us about it. 0817-555-1067, 0817-444-1067, 0704-400-1067. The WhatsApp portal is also open, 0817-555-1067. You're on. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Kendi Adefulu from Kenta.
All right, welcome, Kendi.
Good morning, the guests. I appreciate your contribution. First, on Sunday, Igboho, I think the DSS, I see them as an intelligent unit. I'm not going against Sunday Igboho as well, but I think they should have got some information before going to his house. And looking at what they found, someone should have given them, there should be an info. I've given information about those ammunitions. Because asking him, I think there was a time that they invited him, and they just said that they should cancel the trip. Police told him to cancel the early or tomorrow. But I think someone should have informed them about some ammunitions in his house and the champs. So the DSS is going to just carry operations without guiding intelligence. I want to say first. Then going with the PIB. Well, I think the editor-in-chief is who? The editor of the PIB. Well, somehow, but what I think is that looking at the synergy between the legislature and the executive, I think the president will sign it. Two reasons. One, the executive introduced the bill, firstly. Secondly, he had some committees who worked directly with the legislatures in making sure that this bill was passed by the Senate and the House of Reps. So I think he will not want to give his assent. I think we don't want, because looking at Mele Kiari, and it was what he concluded on that they later accepted. They will convince him. I think they will convince him. The National Assembly will convince him, because we are always seeing them as rubber stamp. They will convince the president. It will be different from the Electoral Act. I understand what you are coming from.
Okay.
It will be very different.
Okay.
It has been long-awaited results, and he will give assent.
All right, so thank you so much, Kende, for that. 0704 400 1067, 0817 555 1067. Those are the numbers to call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Nicholas from Abeokuta.
Welcome, Nicholas.
Everything Professor Ifekego Mohavu said, it should be accepted and assimilated by every well-meaning Nigerian. He was very clear on graduate employability, on the woman in the village who does not have the NHIS scheme, on widening the tax net instead of increasing the tax rates. On the Amajiri phenomenon and recruitment as regards to poverty and education. Now, on this Igboho issue, there was a man called Muhammadu Ribadu in this country. In 1959, he was the Minister of Affairs. In 1960, he was the Minister of Defense, Lagos Affairs, Land and Deputy Premier, Northern Region. At the same time, he is the grandfather of the First Lady, Aisha Buhari. So it is unlikely that a certain man who has gone around the West, gathering momentum and followership, is about to enter Lagos, and Aisha Buhari will not disturb Muhammadu Buhari at night. The operation in Soka Forest is not an accident. The truth is that Muhammadu Buhari read local government administration. In the north, they read local government administration, pro-science, top-admin, history, or geography. While in the west, we read medicine, law, and engineering. And when they now become chief of army staff, chief of air staff, chief judge, we start complaining. The truth is that it is their grandsons that control the border in Lagos. They control the LPA in Lagos. And if Igboho's boys have been accused of opening a federal border, my guest in the house, I want to believe that should be a federal offense if it was proven. But it's unfortunate. The whole world saw David Chauvin publicly kill George Floyd, but they still gave David Chauvin fair hearing. As far as I'm concerned, murder was committed in Igboho's house yesterday, but it appears people are more happy with provincialism. A lot of people were happy yesterday when Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. But today, some people are not talking of justice, due process, and procedure. We need to come to a time when we need to seek for justice everywhere and not when it affects us. And that is why in some places, when a child is to be born, every woman has to be there. It was to show communalism.
Nicholas, I hope you can wrap up your thoughts in 30 seconds, please.
And what I'm saying is that everybody should face all their dancing steps from the music they hear now. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Nicholas.
Thank you so much.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Splash.
Good morning.
I am Babalola, and I'm calling from Obantoko.
Okay.
You see, anyone who wants to embark on a mission impossible must be very ready to go through the rigors of what that he has stepped out to champion. I'm referring to Nnamdi Kanu and Sunday Igboho, the first championing a Biafran state, the other one championing a Yoruba nation. So how can you do that in a nation? When you get forward, is the generation of your area in tandem with your dreams? I said no, because already there are many Igbos that are saying no, they are not going with Nnamdi Kanu. And the same thing in Igboho. If Igboho is there, their people are being killed by Fulani herdsmen, then you mobilize your army and face the Fulani herdsmen. Finish them, kill them. If the federal government does not want to do that, like Autumn is trying to do in Benue State, not that you said you want your Yoruba nation. And again, when this Amotekun chief in Oyo State was saying that he had intelligence that the bush in the area were, occupied by Fulani herdsmen, the governor did not take action. He said he had passed intelligence, and before you know it, people were killed. Okay. Now the DSS said there are intelligence that arms is stockpiled in that place. So what do you want the government to do? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Well, let's go to our WhatsApp platform now. This one is saying, good morning. On the raid that occurred at Sunday Igboho's house, this happened in the night, and we don't expect these people to keep looking as some people barged into his house at the dead of the night. What pains me most is those that was killed. It's a simple scenario. They should have come in the daylight and give him warrants to search and arrest. He's not a criminal and he won't run away. May God help us. Sanitarian Akinola Oluwarantimi from Ashero, Abeokuta. And this one is saying, good morning, my people. I am highly disappointed about his house. No, he actually didn't say that. He's just saying that Mr.
Possible scenario.
Yes, he was just creating a hypothetical situation.
Yes, hypothetical situation.
Yeah.
So he said, even with the gun snatched from customs at Idiroko, I want to say that your guest is a member of, he's not. Just like what you heard. Thank you so much. His name is, let me see if I can get the name. Ashiwaju, I think. Yes, Ashiwaju Adisa from Abeokuta. Thank you so much. He's not saying that they brought it in. He's just saying that a possible scenario. He's just painting a possible scenario.
I don't know what they're holding on to. That
particular part.
That particular part of what Abayomi said. He only created a hypothetical situation about it. He's not saying that the DSS
That's what happened.
brought in arms into Sunday Igboho's house.
You see, in this country today, you expect anything. You feel that anything is possible. You feel that anything is possible. So look at the El Zakizaki case. You can hear so many sides of the story. These are some of the things we are talking about. And before we leave, let me quickly say this, that I listened to Professor Mogalu this morning, and he has not said anything different from what the likes of late Gani Fawemi was saying. It is now left for us Nigerians to decide who will occupy these offices, not only the Aso Rock office, these offices come 2023. It is not enough for us to sit down and analyze, sit down and talk about this thing. Let's get our PVC on the day of election. Let's go out there and make use of that vote. That is when you'll be able to tell those you have voted in, you call them to order, you question them. But if you don't vote, if you don't participate in it, they will always get there the way they want.
Always a pleasure having you on Panorama. And of course, to the listeners of Panorama, we did appreciate the fact that you tune in every morning, Monday to Friday, to listen to the conversation we have on Panorama. I return to Monday next week, 8 to 10. My name is Uzo Adizwa. Please enjoy your weekend.
Yes, and I am Mariam Oguremi. Nicholas, yes, it is truly a Swagger Friday. Do have a great day. Bye for now.